When I first started studying nutrition 13 years ago, I thought that inflammation only happened when there was something seriously wrong in the body, like an infection or a serious health condition. But what confused me was how many people, myself included, felt inflamed even while eating well and taking care of themselves. You still feel bloated, heavy, puffy, and that's when I realized inflammation isn't the enemy. Inflammation is information. It's your body asking for support. So in this video, I'm going to share how we can help the body move out of inflammation and back into balance. And at the end, I'll also share my favorite anti-inflammatory foods. All right, before getting into some tips, I thought it might be helpful to talk about the cause of inflammation first. So generally, I think it's really, really important to mention that inflammation isn't something bad or something we have to fight. It's actually your body protecting you, or rather your cells. So when your cells are in danger because of toxins that come into your body from your environment, from the food you eat, from your emotions, then your body wants to protect. So it starts fighting these toxins by protecting your cells. That's why it then creates things like edema, water retention, puffiness. We start looking bloated. The belly might even start swelling up. These are all symptoms of you having toxins in your body. And the best thing we can do, and really it's so important for me to mention that you have done nothing wrong. Like, your body is just trying its very, very best to protect you. And generally, there's also nothing wrong with inflammation. Because let's say you cut your finger, then that finger gets inflamed too. And then it over time heals. So the problem is rather when we have chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is just a sign of your body doing its thing. But when it starts to become chronic, then we need to look at, okay, what can we do? And generally, there are three major things that impact inflammation. One of them is your blood sugar. So if the blood sugar spikes too much, too rapidly, that leads to inflammation because your body is confused. It's in fight or flight mode. It's like, what's going on? Why is there so much sugar coming in all of a sudden? I don't know how to take in all of that. Okay, why is there not enough sugar now? I want to say sugar is very important for the body. I'm not talking about refined sugar. I'm talking about simple carbohydrates, but we're going to get to that later in the food part. But for now, I also want to talk about the other two factors that can hugely impact inflammation. One of them is also your nervous system, or how calm and relaxed you feel. So when you're having a lot of stress and your body isn't in a calm, relaxed state, then how it's supposed to be taking care of the toxins coming in. Like, it can't do its job because it's so concerned with fighting against all the stresses outside, whether that's at work or your family or your relationships. If there's a lot of stress from that coming in, then your body isn't feeling safe and grounded, and it cannot take care of, taking care of all these bodily processes. So stress, another huge factor. When we eliminate that one, we're good to go. And then the last one is your microgut biome, and this is probably the major one that you've already heard if you've been diving into the topic of inflammation. Your microgut biome, you want to make sure you have a lot of healthy gut bacteria. You want to make sure that gut lining is protecting your body from all the toxins coming in. And how do we create a healthy gut lining? By eating a lot of high fiber, high nutritious foods with a lot of polyphenols, by making sure we have a good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio in our diet, and to also make sure we have a good potassium to sodium balance. So when there is too much sodium in the body, aka salt, then the potassium-sodium balance isn't there, and potassium really helps the body calm down. It helps our nervous system to feel relaxed. And usually foods that have a lot of potassium are, of course, fruits. That's why I'm such a big fan of fruits. That's why I've eaten more than 15,000 bananas in my life already. And yeah, potassium is amazing. When we eat a lot of it, we help flush out all that sodium, because I'm sure you have noticed this. When you've eaten a very salty meal, the next day your face looks kind of puffy and bloated. And I can even feel how my skin is getting like very firm, because obviously the size of my face has blown up. And again, like, it's nothing, you have done nothing wrong. It's just your body protecting you against toxins that it doesn't know how to deal with. I think that's so important to mention. And before we get into some foods that we can eat to help move the body back into balance out of that inflammation state, I also want to talk about something that's really important to me, and that is that food is just one pillar. And also there is no one perfect food, or I don't want to tell you what not to eat and what to eat. I think it's really important that you find out about that for yourself. But also there is the Wheel of Health, which is something I've created a long time ago, and then I actually found out it already exists in the natural hygiene movement. I personally think if you check mark all of them, like, you're gold. Yeah, you're gonna feel so amazing, and the inflammation is gonna be, I mean, this is not medical advice. I can't promise anything, but I can just say from my own experience. And when I look at people who have amazing health, these are the factors they really take care of every day. Like, I've spent some time, several days with some really amazing healthy people, like Dr. Douglas Graham, some of my friends that are really thriving. And when I look at what do they do in their everyday life, it's these things. And there are two factors that I really want to look at today other than the food part, and that is your relationships and your emotions, and also how safe you feel. So when your body is feeling safe, then, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's very easy for your body to fulfill all these important processes to move toxins out of your body. And the way we can feel safe is, one, of course, by being in a tribe, aka a family, friends, that you feel very safe around. And when you have your people around you, then you naturally feel calm and relaxed when you have resolved things with them, of course. I think that's also important. But I can share an example here. So I was just on a little trip in Spain, and for some days I was with friends on a cherimoya farm, and we were all together on that farm, and I slept really good those nights. And then on some other days I was on my own in an Airbnb, and in those nights I didn't sleep as good. And I think, of course, it was also because I wasn't as close to nature. But I also think it was hugely because I was completely on my own, and having my friends around just made me feel so safe. And that's also why I think it's so important that we build healthy relationships to people, because I don't think we're meant to be on our own. I think for periods in our lives and for different chapters, wherever we're at, that can be very helpful and important. But in the long run, I think it's really awesome to build a network of people around us that make us feel safe. And also, when there are unresolved things with the people that we are with, that can, of course, lead to us also going to food and our body feeling in fight, flight, or freeze mode, because the relationships are making us, triggering us, bring up old emotions. There's this famous saying, when you're hysterical, it's most likely historical. So really looking at these things, and also letting the past behind, knowing you are not your past, you are now, and dropping all that baggage from the past so that you can step into these relationships with a very positive heart set, with a very positive mindset. And then the other factor that really creates safety in our life is a routine. And I personally have gone away from thinking that a routine is strict and boring. Of course, I think it's important to allow ourselves a lot of flexibility within our routine. But generally, I have found for myself that when I have a rhythm, a heartbeat in my life of consistent bedtimes, of consistent meals, of also very big and nourishing meals that really fill me up, so that after my meal, I'm good to go for several hours. Because if we don't, then we keep snacking, we keep going to food, and that really affects the blood sugar. So I think having 3 big meals, or 2 big meals, or even 4 big meals, but having them, consistently making sure you're getting in enough fuel into your system. Of course, when you're hungry, not when you're already full. For me, biggest game changer. Seriously, because that really made my body feel safe. It made my body feel relaxed. It made my body feel calm and centered. And in that state, your body is able to work much better together with you and for you. than when we're fighting against it by denying it food. Maybe sometimes not consciously, but because literally there's no space in our lives. So really creating that space for these consistent, huge, satiating, nourishing meals is amazing. And now I want to get to the food part. So I already alluded to it a little bit by some of the things we want to make sure we have in our diet and also how we eat. So I found that when I started switching meals from, having a lot spread out throughout the day to like 3 refined meals every day that are big and filling, that is amazing for the blood sugar, because now your blood sugar is always stable. When we now combine that with a high fiber diet, because fiber is amazing, that helps move out things from our digestion that are maybe stuck in there. It helps protect the gut lining from toxins entering the body. And it's great for so many other things. We all know fiber is awesome. And foods that are high in fiber, if you know my channel, are of course fruits and vegetables. So your lettuces, your cucumbers, your tomatoes, all your fruits, even dates have fiber, dried fruits, bananas, apples, berries. Berries are one of the best fruits when it comes to, bringing your body back into balance and, out of inflammation. Also melon, watermelon, honeydew melon, whatever melon you love, piel de sapo. They're all great because they have a lot of fiber and they also have a lot of nutrients and polyphenols. The more nutrients a food has, the more color, those vibrant, rich foods, eat the rainbow, the more your gut starts producing all this healthy gut bacteria. On the other hand, when we eat foods that are high in omega-6 and saturated fat, then our body can't produce all that healthy bacteria when we're eating foods that are refined and low in fiber. So those are things. I'm not going to mention anything, honestly, because I think we all know what these things are. And when you go to the supermarket and you fill your cart, just ask yourself, does that have a lot of fiber? And yeah, the more water-rich it is, if it doesn't have an ingredient label, then you can be pretty sure it's a good food. So I'm gonna mention a few more foods that are amazing, but really you gotta find for yourself what you enjoy, because you might not be enjoying any of the foods that I'm about to mention, and then just, see if any other foods that you really enjoy fit in that category of all the factors I just mentioned. So another amazing food is hemp seeds, because they also have a good omega-3 content. Chia seeds are great too. But with the fat, we want to make sure we don't eat too much, because if we have too much fat in our bloodstream, then sugar can't enter the cell and we're going to run into not having the most stable blood sugar levels. So when we keep the fat in our diet lower, then our blood sugar is going to be stabilized and we are going to have consistent energy, consistent good mood. Of course, that also requires for us to eat consistently. And generally, also, all fruits and vegetables, by the way, have the perfect or pretty close to perfect omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. That's why I eat a high fruit, high vegetable diet, because these foods naturally, you don't even have to add any external fat source. They naturally already contain the perfect amount of omega-3. So another great food is bananas. Again, you have to combine that with a low-fat diet, because if you don't, you might run into some blood sugar issues. But really, it's vastly overstated. I've made a whole video about bananas and why they actually don't really spike the blood sugar if you eat them correctly. You want to make sure they are ripe. You want to make sure to not eat them together with a lot of fat. And you want to make sure that you enjoy them and that you eat them to enjoyment. So what I like to do is to combine them together with berries, with apples, with, cucumbers even, because that way they definitely are not spiking your blood sugar, because you're eating them together with other things that slow the absorption of the sugar into your system, into your blood. But even a banana-only smoothie, like on an empty stomach, for example, I have no problem whatsoever eating that. It's for me also just a little bit about the enjoyment. Personally, I'm not too big of a fan of just plain banana smoothies or even plain bananas, unless it's like really nice Namua bananas, for example, if you've ever tried them, the ice cream banana variety. So good. I can eat those just straight from the peel, like a whole meal. But yeah, that's a topic for another video. And then the last food I want to mention that's really, really awesome to move the body back into balance are leafy greens, because again, eat the rainbow. They are high in polyphenols, they are high in fiber and nutrients, and they really help create that healthy gut bacteria. If you now want a full rundown of what a week in my life looks like in terms of eating, you can check out my What I Eat in a Day playlist. But please be aware, this is just what I'm eating. It's so important to me that you find out what you enjoy and what you love. And if eating is not a part you want to be focusing on, then you can also check out this video where I talk about a full year of rebounding and the amazing benefits that I've experienced from that.